Hello, welcome. I'm glad you're with us as we continue our chronological read through of the Bible. And by the way, this is day 183. So we're officially now in the second half of our effort. Let's see. Um, we return today to the narrative about the reigns of the kings of the divided kingdom that we've been working our way through for quite a while now. Today we're going to read about the transition between Elijah and Elisha. And then we're going to read through a number of the miracles of Elisha. And our next time together, we'll have some more of those miracles to go through. There's way too much activity in these four chapters. We're reading four chapters today, but they go really quickly because there's just so much action in them. But I can't summarize it all in the few minutes that we have. So I'm going to just focus on clearing up at least a few of the things that might seem a little bit confusing as you read these. In chapter one, already in verse three, you see that King Ahaziah is going to make inquiry of he's going to make inquiry of someone who is associated with Beelzebub. Well, Beelzebub actually means Lord of the Flies. So he's not inquiring of the Lord of the Flies. It's probably a deliberate corruption by the author of Second Kings of Beelzebul, which means basically Baal is prince. Rather than giving any, any honor to this idol, they make fun of it. The author is making fun of it by calling it Beelzebub or Lord of the Flies. Um, Verses 9 through 12 of the first chapter, you'll notice that there's two captains and actually the 50 men that are with them that are consumed by fire when they're speaking to Elijah. It's not likely that they were just up there innocently talking with Elijah. They'd been told to go get Elijah and bring him to the king. They were probably mocking Elijah and God, maybe speaking in a sarcastic or a condescending tone. Remember, we just had this thing happen where um, prophet or people had been sent to get word from the prophet of Beelzebub or Beelzebul, and instead Elijah gets inserted into the middle of it. So they may have been mocking him. And indeed, later on, we're going to find a gang of boys mocking Elisha, and they also meet with destruction. By the way, the captain that then shows some proper respect to Elijah doesn't have any problem with being burned. He and his men being burned up. A little bit further along, just before Elijah is taken into heaven in a chariot of fire, Elisha asks for a double portion of Elijah's spirit. Now, think of that in terms of the inheritance customs of the day. It was expected in those days that the eldest son would receive a double portion of what the other sons received. In other words, the material wealth that someone had would be divided uh, however many ways plus one, and the eldest son would get that plus one. That's likely the background for Elisha's request. Indeed, Elisha does receive God's Spirit. He receives it in great measure as he sees Elijah being taken up in the chariot of fire. On his way back from that experience, when Elisha asks at the river, he comes to the Jordan River, the prophets of Israel are the sons of the prophets of Israel are on the other side of the Jordan. And Elisha asks, where is the Lord, the God of Elijah? Um, and then God performs this miracle of parting the waters of the Jordan through him. Well, Elisha isn't expressing doubt when he asks, where is the Lord, the God of Elijah? He's really setting this up so God works through a miracle to demonstrate his spirit now rests on Elisha. So otherwise, that could be kind of a confusing incident. In chapter 2, verses 23 to 24, this incident that I referred to above about a group of boys mocking Elisha. That's what is going on here. So, this punishment that these boys receive, if you read it independently, seems pretty harsh. But if you recall what had happened even just earlier with those who were mocking God and mocking God's prophets, you see that God does not take that lightly. A little bit later, when Moab rebels against Israel, King Jehoram enlists the help of King Jehoshaphat of Judah, as well as help of the Edomites to crush the rebellion. Elisha won't speak with the evil King Jehoram directly, except for the sake of Jehoshaphat, King Jehoshaphat of Judah. God provides a miraculous sign. There's a dry stream. It receives water without there being any rain to prove his word through Elisha, and he delivers the Moabites to them. It's not really clear why Israel and Judah and I believe the Moabites withdraw after the king of Moab sacrifices his son. We're not really told, and even the context doesn't really help us a lot with understanding that. So that one just kind of lays there as a mystery. Beginning in chapter 4, we're going to read through quite a number of miracles of Elisha. I'm not going to comment on all of them, but just a few notes. The account of the widow's oil at the start of chapter 4, it's pretty straightforward. But Elisha's interaction with the Shunammite woman is a little bit more challenging. Clearly, there's this wealthy woman and her husband who befriend Elisha on his travels. Elisha desires to thank her. She doesn't have a son. So he tells her that in a year, by the hand of God, she'll have a son. Um, but when the son grows up, he dies. Um, so that all seems rather confusing. Elisha has not foreseen that. Ultimately, God restores the life of the son through Elisha. So the Shunammite woman really receives her child twice from God. Chapter 4 ends with two accounts from a time of famine. There's a deadly stew that's purified by some flour. And then at another point in time, there's a large group of men that's fed, that is fed, including leftovers, by 20 loaves and some ears of grain. Maybe that story will remind you a little bit of Jesus feeding the crowds in the wilderness. Again, as I said, when we gather next time, we're going to go through some more of the miracles of Elisha. Definitely encourage you to read these 4 chapters. It may sound like a lot, but as I say, it goes pretty quickly. It's a very active four chapters. A lot of amazing things going on. May God be with you and bless you.